But with that map I'm working on, part of the problems with the triggers breaking is that the way I have the level set up, I don't want the triggers to all trigger simultaneously, and it's a pretty small level. But so basically, the way I have them set up is the order I want them to take place. It's like all the others are disabled, but it's like when you go through the first one, it enables the second one. You go through that one, it enables the next one. And so basically, that allows the player to roam through the level without just triggering everything all at once, right? Also, part of that I think is effective to let a player explore areas first, before they experience things in them. But that was kind of an issue with the level compilation. Is if the triggers break, a lot of it just stops working. You know, and as I think I mentioned already, Doom 3 got a lot of credit for its audio design, even though John Carmack said the audio was really just basic mixing. It was just the sound design really was what was good. The I mean, like the sound selection. Okay, well, Source Engine is a disaster because pretty much the way that I'm doing things, you use ambient generic and just pick a sound to play. Well, the sound positioning is so fucking broken that I could place a sound source right next to you with a really, really large radius, and it'll sound like almost like it's not playing. Like I have to fuck with the audio. Like a lot of these compilations are me just recompiling the map to change the level of the ambient generic getting triggered. Because a lot of times you like fucking almost can't hear them. Even though I don't know that there was one map I was making. You're supposed to hear a sniper in the distance. Okay, well, dude, I put a radius on the fucking sound so big that it essentially encompassed the entire map, and you still couldn't fucking hear it. Like I had to check the flag to play everywhere to be able to hear it at all. The problem then, though, is that it doesn't sound like it's coming from a particular direction, which defeats the whole purpose, right? I had a thing, it's like with Half-Life 2. I mentioned it before, but there's this rebel guy walking around. He gets taken out by a sniper. You hear which direction it comes from, and you kind of would just react accordingly, right? Well, it just sounds like it's coming from everywhere if I have to check play everywhere, right? So, like, I don't know. Half-Life 2's audio is horrible, but the more I've been playing Doom 3 lately, like, especially with my headphones, yeah, it has some fucking incredible sound design. Although, something I noticed with is through the years is Doom 3 and Fear share an audio problem in common, and it's that like they must be using some type of flag based system to change the audio levels. Like it doesn't seem to be just some overarching thing of reduce the volume of this or like whatever type of sound, whether it's the master volume, music, voice, whatever. Um, like it doesn't seem to be something implicit to the audio renderer, but rather basically telling the audio file what to do. Because both Doom 3 and Fear have sounds that if you lower the volume by just doing it with the in-game slider, there are still sounds in the game that play at max volume, right? Like one of them being like there's a water splashing sound in Fear that'll do that. One of the zombie moaning sounds in Doom 3 will do that. Several other sounds, I couldn't necessarily think of them off the top of my head, but that kind of adds to the horror elements, I think. You have it set to where the volume's pretty loud, pretty quiet, but then all of a sudden you hear this like full volume sound that you wouldn't expect to be hearing at the audio level, like to the point where like I have set the Doom 3 audio to like it uses decibels. I've set it to like minus 32 dB before, which is like 8 times or whatever quieter than real life or than like the maximum level. And there will still be certain sound effects that are like full volume. So that I mean that could that could startle you for sure. It sort of plays into this dream I had when I was a kid. And nowadays they have the creepy pasta shit about how every copy of Mario 64 is personalized. Well, when I was a kid and Mario 64 was like brand fucking new, I had a dream one time that I was playing games Like, not necessarily just Mario 64, but it was one of the games I was playing, at the time that I had this nightmare. I had a dream that I was like playing my, consoles, and I turned the TV off, I turned everything off, but I could still hear the game audio. And then I heard this, the Bowser laughing noise whenever you like go to the stages to fight him in Mario 64. Like, I heard that in the dream. So like the basis of the dream is like, oh, they're still running. Even it's like, how are they doing that when they're turned off or this or that? And just the demonic laughing or what, dude. I just scared the fuck out of me. It's like I'm like 6 years old or whatever, freaking, having a fucking dream like that, freaking out or whatever. But I've had ideas for a long time now to make a level where it's sort of the same overall idea as like that one Half-Life 2 mod back in the day, like really early on, or like that one level in Condemned, which I think that custom map for Half-Life 2 is actually based on Condemned. But it's sort of an extension of the whole thing where it's like, you turn around and when you turn back, the mannequins are in a different position. I had an idea to do something like that, but with the level, either the arrangement of objects or the geometry, but in extremely subtle ways that compound over time that you might not notice at all. But the idea was to sort of get this sort of feel of unease in there. Because I've had a lot of dreams where it's just like a scene or whatever. It's just stuff, right? Like, a building or like whatever. Nothing looks weird. Nothing like explicitly looks out of place, but I just have this sense of dread the whole time that I'm having the dream, right? I wanted to try to figure out a way to replicate that. And so I had an idea like that where, it's like you go into a room, do some stuff, you go out, when you come back, stuff is different, but it's not like, oh, you come back and there's a demon face. It's like, or like Doom 3 fucking does is, like, I always forget about this. I think it's in monorail or communications transfer or whatever the fuck it is. Or no, it's the one where the sky bridge collapses and Betruger does that fucking amazing laugh. They use it like 4 or 5 times in the game. I love that fucking thing. With the elevator laughing part, that's my favorite part in the whole fucking game. But you can actually go to almost the end of the level. Now, if you backtrack all the way to as far back as you can go, when you come back through from there, it'll spawn a couple imps. And it spawns them like right where that revenant is, where there's, the stairs are broken and you have to go around to like get up to that part. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me, dude? Right? It's like the level designers are such assholes. Like, they place enemy spawns that only trigger if you're backtracking from a backtrack. So, like, the way I play games is I get almost to the end of the level and then I go back as far as I can, collecting up ammo and like whatever else, right? And it's like they put enemies in it just to fuck with me, right? Motherfuckers that do what I do, which I've been doing it since I, learned about Half-Life and how you can do that in Half-Life in a lot of levels. Like, I pretty much always do it like that. And it's like you really going to put these two shit dick imps just to fuck with me, right? These two shit dick imps just to fuck with me on a backtrack. Just to, like, I really didn't even find anything, right? It was almost at max ammo and everything anyway, right? And I mean, I'm playing on Nightmare on this particular run, right? Like, even Nightmare on Doom 3 is really kind of too easy in my opinion. Also, I think the health ticking down is kind of redundant. Like, why not just make my max health 25, right? Like, it's slow paced enough that most of the time it's going to be 25. And like, you don't, if you know how to play it for real, like, you don't use the soul cube to gain health. You use the soul cube to deal with bullshit enemies. Like, I almost exclusively use them on like the shotgunners and like, the chain gun guys. Um, but either way, in the case of the level I would want to make, backtracking from the backtrack or whatever, it's like you revisit an area, it's like the table might have been moved like one map unit in some direction, or rotated slightly. They're just extremely subtle. And, just these really, just accumulate these really subtle changes. And it just sort of, leaning into the idea of like questioning what's real, or hold on, was that there before? And like this and that type of stuff. It's not exactly a genius idea. I'm not even sure how to like pull it off in a way that would work for a horror game or psychological whatever game, or I don't know. But it's the fucking spooky mannequins that move, and it's not like it's like a new idea. It just I don't think I've ever seen anybody do it like that, where it's like subtle. So one of the things is I really don't like jump scares. I put them in the level I'm making mostly just to fuck around. The skeleton that poops out at you or whatever, it flies at your face because it's parented to a funk button that's moving, but because as far as I can tell, there's no way to set it to be not solid. It's running across the ceiling, right? If I put it in the center of where the skeleton is, it'll push you and even crush you, right? It'll like do crush damage, like kill you, which is kind of funny. Maybe I should do that on purpose, right? Like if you're in its way or whatever. I don't know, but that's just me fucking around, just seeing what I can do, because mapping for me is really just it's just a hobby, not a hobby. Well, I mean it is, but it's a pastime. I'm just doing it just to do something. But I really strongly prefer a lack of jump scares. One of the horror type of channels I watch, they talk about this director that has the same idea. So for him, the horror, like he basically has no jump scares. His idea is that basically the scare is there the whole time or whatever. It's more like the sense of dread and this and that. That's basically what I'm thinking of. And I don't know. I guess to an extent that idea is pretty much what a lot of these like liminal spaces type of horror game. Fuck. Type. I'm getting eat up by mosquitoes. Type of horror games, right? I think that's what they're going for. Most of them, I don't think, pull it off, but I don't know. Maybe you could look at it like that. But I don't know. I've just been fucking with the level design. If I can find a download of that movie, I definitely would like to watch it, and that Megan 2 movie as well. But I really haven't seen anything else in a long fucking time that even looked interesting enough to want to watch the whole thing. But I might fuck with that level here or there. Maybe at some point I'll upload a recording of it. I don't know. But Fear, I'm really in the mood for Fear. I love to see how across a week or several weeks or a month or several months or whatever, like through my videos, seeing just how I move from one thing to another, and like how it kind of influences every itself, and it's like it culminates in like whatever it is, right? And it's like all the games, even from Half-Life 2 up to now, I've been talking about. It's like now I'm on Fear, right? It's kind of a general progression I always have. There's this weird sort of periodicity to when I replay games from the past, but I love the environments in Fear. Fear's got a lot of like jump scares in them, but with them, the problem with jump scares is once you know that they're there, they stop working, right? As whereas true psychological horror doesn't not only doesn't use that, it couldn't be done with that. But you know, Fear's got some proper horror elements in it, and sort of like the Fear 2 thing or a Smile 2 thing, and how it does. It's like what's real and this and that. I think that's the main appeal to me is all of these sort of perceptual aspects of it. I mean, I guess sort of every movie does it like that. That's kind of in this sort of same genre, but I don't know. If nothing else, it's at least executed differently with the Smile 2, at least as far as I've seen. But it's also a big part of it is the visual aesthetic. Smile 2, it's a lot of like New York, right? A Jersey type of dilapidated, rundown shit. And it's a big part of the appeal of games like Fear for me. It's like with Doom 3. I really hate sci-fi aesthetics, but Quake 2 and Doom 3 are some of my favorite games of all time, despite that. Um, which just shows how good at games they are. But fear, a big part of it for me, is the urban sort